Hi everyone, welcome to the Community Classroom. This is Dr. Tracy McCarthy, psychologist, attorney, and educator, and this is a quick critical thinking video related to who are the original people. We're going to look at some dynamics related to the census, and then we're going to do some critical thinking exercises related to the dynamics in the census. And this video is a response video to a comment that was left related to the issue of nationality. Now, there is a lot of confusion related to nationality floating around the YouTube sphere. And part of this comes from people genuinely being confused. The other part comes from people being manipulative and seeking to confuse other people. And so you have a merging going on related to this issue surrounding the dynamic of nationality. Nationality is not that complicated. However, individuals are seeking to make it more complicated than it actually is. As always, if this video appears on anything other than Dr. Tracy McCarthy, it is stolen and unauthorized. Let's get started. Okay, let's quickly look at the dynamics on the census, where the census identifies people according to these categories, and there are quote-unquote racial categories and quote-unquote ethnicity categories. And so we're going to look at some of these dynamics related to these classifications. And so you primarily have 5 classifications, and you have white, which is a person having origins in any of the original peoples of Europe, the Middle East, or North Africa. You have black or African American, a person having origins in any of the black racial groups of Africa. You have American Indian or Alaskan Native, a person having origins in any of the original peoples of North and South America, including Central America, and who maintains tribal affiliation or community attachment. You have Asian, a person having origins in any of the original peoples of the Far East, Southeast, or the Indian subcontinent, including, for example, Cambodia, China, India, Japan, etc. You have Native Hawaiian or other Pacific Islander, again, a person having origins in any of the original peoples of Hawaii, Guam, Samoa, Pacific Islands. Okay, here is the question for you. What constitutes original peoples? That's the first question. The second question is, why do 4 out of 5 of the categories specify original peoples when the one for Black or African American does not indicate original peoples of Africa? Again, this is a critical thinking exercise. There is no right or wrong answer. This is just to get you thinking about some possibilities and critically thinking about why this distinction is there for Africa. There is the presumption clearly that there are original peoples that occupy different spaces in terms of land mass. However, there is no one indicated as original Black racial groups of Africa. And so it brings up the question of, are the Black racial groups in Africa actually the original peoples of some place else? So you have Asia, you have Pacific Island, you have Europe, you have a variety of other, America, you have a variety of other places, but clearly there is no indication for original peoples of Africa. There's a lot of confusion related to the construct of original, so let's quickly go over this construct so that everybody is on the same page. Original basically means present or existing from the beginning, the first, the earliest. There was no one there before. And there are some synonyms, which are indigenous, native, aboriginal, first. There's a little difference in those words in terms of the meanings, but they are substantially similar. So to bring this home, pun intended, so that people understand it better, When you're talking about original, you're talking about first in time. So you're talking about, in terms of a home, who was the original owner of the home? You can only have one original owner of the home. You have subsequent owners, but there was an initial original owner. And so that's what is meant by original peoples. Who were the originals? Just like that original homeowner. Who was the original for that landmass? Who arrived there first? Let's quickly go over this issue related to two constructs being removed from the census. And we're going to quickly look at how these two constructs are actually very related. And so the two constructs removed from the census were Negro and Oriental. Now this is interesting. You see the depiction of the little girl off to the left-hand side, and it says Africa Oriental. Okay, one of the dynamics that took place when both of these words were removed from the census is that it removed historical identities from the census. So the word Negro has been used for a few centuries now, and also Oriental. Oriental is very old in terms of the land mass that is referenced in terms of Oriental. And so Oriental definitely is attached to a land mass area, whereas Negro is not. However, these are two major identifiers, and you have these two identifiers perhaps coming together in this one individual. And so what happened basically is a form of paper genocide. Now, some people might be asking, what does Oriental have to do with being a Negro or a brown person? If you have been following these videos and other videos and just doing your history homework, you understand that people all over the world come in various shades and shapes and sizes. And so you will know that those who would be considered Negro or Negrito or Negroid in terms of features, they are all over the planet. And so what you have here is a dynamic whereby those individuals have been erased, and what you have left is just the word African. And so you don't have that Negro identifier, which could mean anywhere. And then you don't have that Oriental identifier, which actually fits for many individuals. Another question to think about for you diversity buffs is, why are white and black categories colors while everyone else is an ethnicity? So you'll see Pacific Islander, you'll see American Indian, you'll see Asian. And so there is this idea of being attached to a land mass for everyone else except those who are identified as black or white. And another question for people to entertain who are claiming ownership of land masses. The question is, are you original? Are you the first in time for that land mass? Or are you an ancillary beneficiary of the works of Alexander the Great or the accursed, depending on how you look at that? Many people were moved around the world very early. And so you have some of those dynamics going on whereby people lost touch with their origins very early in time, and people have been very migratory. And so some people are claiming origins in places that are not consistent with their ancestral origins. And based upon the census alone, there is an indicator that many people who are claiming African origins may not actually be the original people groups of Africa, and that's specifically related to sub-Saharan Africa or below the Sahara Desert. All right, and here is the statement that this is made in response to. the individual identifying as B's backyard discussion, and the above identifiers there, these are subscriptions for that person's channel. So one of the things that might give you sometimes is an idea of the person's thought process, what's important to them. And so in this instance, the individual has a couple of channels that kind of stick out in terms of this assertion that there is no such thing as an African American, basically believing that this is not a nationality. And so the question, this is the critical thinking question. You can put your answers down below in the comments section and have a discussion about this. It's a very important discussion because this is a big issue that comes up for a number of content creators. So the question is, which identifier constitutes an American in the samples below? You have American Indian, you have African American, you have Hispanic, you have white, and you have black. And make sure to put your rationale for your response in your comment. Remember, knowledge is power. Take care and see you soon.